Dr. Nisha Chandel, Assistant Professor in School of Education, in Sanskriti University, Chhata, Mathura. So students, today we are going to study about a very interesting topic, and that is emotional intelligence. And in this topic, we will study about the introduction of emotional intelligence, what is emotional intelligence, components of emotional intelligence, and the ways to develop emotional intelligence. First of all, let us start. So, as we all are familiar with the word emotion, and emotion is associated with the psychological aspect of human personality. And emotions are very important for human beings, for personal development as well as for the social development. As you know, the difference between machine and man comes from emotions, because human beings have emotions. And if the emotions are deleted from our life will be worthless. So let us go back to the origin of the word emotion. The word emotion is derived from a Latin word, and that is emovere, which means to excite or to moving out. What is this emovere? Means which moves us out. So you must have seen emotions as when we are under some emotion, we are not in a normal state, and we can say that we are in a disturbed state. We get disturbed. So we can say that emotional state is an disturbed state of our intellect as well as our mind. So emotions are associated with instincts. As you know, instincts are the prime drives which nature has filled in us. So emotions are associated with the instincts. There was one psychologist, McDougall, and he has identified various emotions which are associated with a particular instinct. For example, the emotion disgust is associated with repulsion, and fear is associated with instinct of flight or escape. Similarly, the emotion of anger is associated with instinct to combat, and emotion of wonder is associated with instinct of curiosity. The emotions can be experienced in three phases. One is cognitive, second is affective, and the third one is psychomotor. And as you know, the cognitive aspect refers to knowledge about the emotions, the knowledge of a particular human being to know about what kind of emotion, what type of emotion is one experiencing. And the second thing is the feeling aspect, affective aspect, which is related to feeling, and this relates the human beings which kind of feeling he is having about a certain emotion. And the psychomotor refers to the striving aspect, reflects to the behavioral aspect, and it can be beneficial or harmful depending upon the nature and intensity of the emotion. As you know, when someone is undergoing some kind of emotion, say anger, and when we are affected with a little degree of anger, we just get annoyed. And when we are affected with enormous, very intense anger, then in that intense anger, we can even be violent. So the emotional reactions, psychomotor reactions depend upon the intensity and nature of the emotion. There are some of the experts like Webster Stratton and who opine that emotional responses have three levels, and these are neuropsychological and biochemical. Second is behavioral level and third one is cognitive level. When discussing with neuropsychological, physiological and biochemical level, they include changes in heart rate, respiration rate, pulse rate, blood flow and hormonal secretions. And then at behavioral level, the changes are shown through the visible changes in voice tone, volume of voice, aggression, etc. And at cognitive level, the changes occur in cognition of a stimulus and it changes when a person undergoes some kind of emotion. And now coming to the core of our topic, and that is emotional intelligence. You must have understood by now what the emotions are. Let me explain and let me summarize that the emotions are the feelings that are dependent upon our instincts, and whenever we are under some emotion we cannot behave in a normal way and our behavior is something abnormal, and the emotion are experienced cognitive, affective and through psychomotor domain. Now coming to emotional intelligence. You all are familiar with the concept of intelligence, but you may not be familiar with the concept of emotional intelligence. Like fluid intelligence, we also have some concept like emotional intelligence. As you know, emotions are the directors of our behavior. Our behavior depends upon the emotional state of our mind. So, the emotional intelligence is something how intelligently we deal with our emotions. In 2004, David, a psychologist, who explains what emotional intelligence is. He says that emotional intelligence is the capability to accurately identify our emotions and use emotions to help what you think, understand and which causes emotions and manage to stay upon these emotions in order to capture the wisdom of our feeling. So here you can say that according to David, we should accurately identify the emotions and use emotions in appropriate way and understand which emotions are destroying you and which emotions are helping you, and which kind of emotions are good for you and which kind of emotions are not good for you. And while in 2010, Rouse has linked cognitive capability with emotional intelligence, and even he also includes cognitive capability in emotional intelligence. And you know, till the last decade of 20th century, emotional intelligence wasn't a concept which was very popular in the masses. So, the credit for popularizing this concept goes back to 1995, where Daniel Goleman, a psychologist turned an expert that popularized the concept of emotional intelligence by publishing in his book emotional intelligence, how does it matters? But this term emotional intelligence was first coined by American universities professors Mayer and Salovey in 1990. And according to Mayer and Salovey, they when they researched further on emotional intelligence, they found two components: effective regulation of emotion in self and others, and the use of feelings to motivate, plan, and achieve one's life. So, he combined both the concepts and he ordered all these things in a later on his studies. And further, we are having something interesting from Daniel Goleman. In 1995, he made a research survey and he found that persons with intelligence who were having higher IQ, they were having less chances of failure, less chances of success as compared to those persons which are having higher IQ but lesser amount of EQ. So the persons who were having higher IQ faced lesser amount of success as compared to those who were having average intelligence and having higher amount of emotional intelligence. So he propounded a theory according to which the emotional intelligence accounts only for 20% for success, while the rest of the success depends upon his emotional intelligence. And the emotionally intelligent persons have greater chances of success in one's life. So I think by now you must be clear about what emotional intelligence is and how it is important. Emotional intelligence, we can sum up that is the ability of a person to express, identify his emotions in a proper way. Proper way means to express one's emotions at the real time, real way, and in real person, in front of real person, because we must be able to express our emotions in real or proper way. Now coming to the components of emotional intelligence, Goldman have divided emotional intelligence into 5 components, and these are self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. And the components, I have defined them here. You can see them in the diagram also. Self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Now coming to self-awareness. What is self-awareness? Self-awareness is something to know about one's own emotions and one's the condition of one's own emotions is very much important for a person. And this is the first step to know the world. One can manage one's own emotions only when one is fully aware about one's capacities, strengths, weaknesses, and emotions. And the persons who are not able to identify or understand their emotions are emotionally illiterate. So we must be able to understand what our capacities are, what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, and what our emotions are. So only then we will be able to understand ourselves. So this is the second component of emotional intelligence is self-regulation. What is self-regulation? This is the organization of one's own emotions. Because as you know, fear, anger, guilt, all are the emotions. So these emotions, when we undergo such type of emotions, we sometimes we lose the control of our mind. We lose sometimes the control of our tongue. And what happens due to that? A lot of problems in relationships arise. So we must be able to regulate our emotions. What is emotional intelligence? In the very definition, we have learned that emotional intelligence is the identification as well as regulation of emotions to express our emotions in a proper way, in front of a proper person and in a proper manner. That is emotional regulation. So one should be able to monitor, means one must be able to monitor which kind of emotions I am undergoing. Secondly, one must be able to discriminate and label one's emotions and feelings. We must be able to understand which kind of emotion is going to disturb me. Such and such thing, if this happens in my life and it will disturb me, I will be saying bad words, or I will be becoming violent, or I will be becoming annoyed over such and such happening. We should be clear about this. And secondly, when we identify the emotion, we should be able to channelize it, how to express that emotion. You cannot cry on your parents. You cannot cry on your teachers. You must know how to regulate that emotion. And then we should be able to change the direction of our emotions in a desirable way. What does this term means? Desirable way, desirable direction. What does this term mean? This means that yes, if someone is saying me something, like suppose your parents are annoyed with you and they are very angry with you and they are saying something and which you don't like, then what should you do? Should you cry similarly on your parents? No, you cannot do that. Some people even lose this kind of control, but this should not be done. So, what should we do? That we should know how to express ourselves, how to express our annoyance. Okay, when they are, suppose some persons, teachers have or parents have said them something which they don't like, then they can ask them, why? Please tell me. I just want to know. So that is the way. The next component of emotional intelligence is motivation. You know what motivation is, I know. So, here, what does this term motivation means as a component of emotional intelligence? Here, it means self-motivation. Motivation to achieve something which you have determined. Motivation to achieve your targets. And some of the emotions like enthusiasm, zeal, confidence, this type of emotions help us in achieving our goals. So these are very important for gaining or motivating our own self. And these emotions lead to positive motivation. Like they motivate us positively. And on the other hand, if we are affected with fear, hatred, anger, then that would lead to negative motivation. And suppose I'm giving you an assignment that you will be each of one of you will be presenting on the stage, and you are going there, and but you are having stage fear, and then will you be able to give your best? You will not be. Similarly, hatred, when you are affected with hatred or anger, even with your loved ones, you are not enjoying your life fully. So in motivation, positive as well as negative emotions help us to motivate, or you can call demotivate us in a direction. And next one is empathy. And see See this word empathy, this is not similar with sympathy. This is different from sympathy. Empathy means to put one's foot in others' boots. Means suppose if some person is having some emotional conflict, or say suppose some person's mother has expired, then we don't know if our own mother hasn't expired, that how how the emotional state of that mind, that person is. So to empathy is to keep yourself in place of that person and feel how that person can feel. So this is difference between sympathy and empathy. Empathy is something different from sympathy. So here also Goldman calls empathy as a social radar, because that can catch the others feelings without any communication. Yes, someone is hurt on the road, you must be knowing that that person is inflicted with some kind of pain. Similarly, empathy means recognize others' emotions and others' feelings with them. And empathy is the ability of a person to see oneself in place of others and feeling how others feel in a particular situation. And you must be knowing that empathy plays a vital role in our life. And next one is social skills. Social skills are a very important component in case of emotional intelligence, and the social skills help us to build up social relationships, and these are the key element of success in the life of others. And professional fields like professions, education, management, business, and that are dependent on social interactions. And emotional intelligence gives one the ability to understand others' emotions and motivate them very effectively. So by now you must be knowing the what are the components of emotional intelligence. So now there comes a balance. There should be a balance in our life between head and heart. We should not be dependent upon our brain only, because we are also having some heart. Heart relates our emotions. Till now, the predictor of one's success was IQ, intelligence quotient. That is the ability to measure one's intelligence. But as I have told you, with the ability of a person to manage one's emotions, to read others' emotions, to motivate others' emotions, the new concept has been devised, and the concept is emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is measured with the help of EQ. And you must be hearing that EQ is measured with EQ is something different from IQ, and this is the measure of emotional intelligence. How we are emotionally intelligent, and that is where we are struggling. So emotional intelligence can be measured with the help of EQ. And now I have drawn a picture. In this circle, you must be understanding how to develop our emotional intelligence. So there are 4 different ways, and you can see that the circles, these are circling each other, and some of the ways are inclusive for another, like coping, relationship with informal support, relationship with formal support, and control. So these are the ways to develop emotional intelligence, and first and foremost one is control. And control is on our emotions and how you express our emotions. Second is coping. In coping, you can go for yoga, meditation, that how you are coping the emotions, the stress, the stains of life, and you can go for that. Further, you can listen to music, you can do meditation, you can go for yoga. And third thing is, that is relationship with informal support. See, whenever we are working in a team, we have some relationship, and sometimes these relationships go bad. So, whenever we are in some kind of relationship, second thing is a relationship with informal support. So, whenever we are in some relationship with our colleagues, with our friends, or even in our personal life, we should support each other, not formally but informally. And third thing is relationship with formal support. Some relationships are there, like with our heads, with our deans, or with our superior ones. So here we can have relationship, formal support there should be mentioned. So this relationship, when we have acceptance, we move higher towards emotional intelligence, and when we don't accept, we don't go for all these things, then we may head towards the emotional breakdown or some kind of emotional distress. So today students, we have learnt about what emotions are, what emotional intelligence is, what are the components of emotional intelligence, and how we can develop emotional intelligence. Thank you for listening attentively. Thank you.